if we did not teach civics to our younger generation. Sandra famously said, the practice of democracy is not passed down in the gene. It must be taught and learned by each generation. And she insightfully decided that the way to reach our youngest generation was through interactive online games that would make learning fun. Her goal was to have iCivics reach every state in the country. It has, and the iCivics games are played by over 9 million students nationwide, now in both English and Spanish. iCivics has expanded its reach to high school and college students and is working on primary education projects. It is also leading coalitions of civically engaged organizations. Her memory will live on through this incredible organization, which meant so much to her and means so much to me. I am grateful not just to Jay, but to the entire O'Connor family for their continuing support of iCivics. I thank Sandra for her vision and her drive, not merely to see and understand the problem, but to do something about it. Just do it was a mantra for her, and with it she accomplished so much. Perhaps Sandra would want me to stop with her contributions to society, but I want to say a little more about how wonderful she was as a person. The very first time I met Sandra was around 1998 when I was invited to the board as a new circuit judge. Sandra was unfailingly gracious towards all of the women judges, a generosity of spirit that I remember extended to the never-ending line of people who clamored to say hello whenever she was out in public. That day, one new judge asked whether she had spacious vision. She said she thought so, and promptly took us all for ourselves to see the office. The Southland Motif was warm and welcoming, and captured so many Arizona's sun she so loved. The cowgirl from out west was our favorite sport. And I remember that emotion in her office room, maybe an hour, but never again. This combination of humility and fearlessness was her to a T. She never let self-doubt or anxiety stop her from making a decision or taking charge and doing something. And our country was brave. Like countless other women, I will always remember the day Sandra was nominated to become the first female Supreme Court justice. Sitting in my district attorney's office in New York, I felt the gravity of her elevation. At a time when most states had no female justices on their highways, and large friend firms of 300 to 500 lawyers touted having just one female partner, I knew that Sandra would open the door for women and serve as the inspiration to those across the country. Later on, she would often say that it was good to be the first, but don't want to be the last. Today, I know she is smart, knowing that more sisters serve for the foremost and for so many others of every background and aspect. Sandra was a living example that women could take on each other, could more than hold their own in spaces dominated by men, and could do so. An interviewer once asked Sandra how she wanted to be remembered on her tombstone. She replied, "Here lies a good judge." Yes, Sandra, you will be remembered that way. But a full epitaph would read, "Here lies a good judge, wife, mother, grandmother, sister, friend, and above all else, a human being, extraordinary." Let us have a moment
one of the pieces of conversation that I've had with people over the last few days, asking them about how they believe Justice O'Connor should be best remembered, is they said if people want to memorialize Justice O'Connor, a couple lawmakers I talked to said, get into government. Go volunteer for your local government. Go run for school board. Justice O'Connor said when she was stepping down from public life in 2018 after her diagnosis with dementia, she said, and I'll quote directly from the letter she wrote, she said, quote, we need to find ways to get people young and old more involved in their communities and in their government. That was her life's work after she left the court. And that's one of the other imprints that she leaves on American history. Her commitment to reminding Americans that democracy is an active process, and you've got to study it and you've got to get involved.
Mary, we often don't get a look behind the scenes at the Supreme Court. It's a generally very private branch of the government, but it was interesting to hear that the tenor of the court changed, that the justices, I'm paraphrasing here, used to view each other as adversaries and sort of criticize each other a lot, and after after the ruling was over, they would go their separate ways, and that it's credited now to Justice O'Connor that changed, and that justices started to come together and be friendly with each other and get to know each other behind the scenes. How significant is that?
Well, it's huge, and frankly, there have been problems